Did you know that most people carry with them from childhood wounds that have significant effects on our lives today? In this story, thanks to Buddhist wisdom, we will learn the 7 ways to heal these wounds and find inner peace. So stay until the end, because the last point we will cover is the most important one, and we will reveal it to you only at the end. But before we continue, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to stay updated when we publish new stories like this one. In the heart of a quiet bamboo grove, where sunlight filtered through the tall green canes, creating a play of dancing light and shadow, stood an ancient Japanese temple. Its wooden walls, worn by time and covered in moss, exuded an aura of serenity and timeless wisdom. Here, in this haven of peace, lived Ikkyo, an elderly and revered Buddhist monk whose name meant echo of wisdom. His life had been a journey of deep introspection and dedication to the path of enlightenment, and his presence radiated an infectious calm and a profound understanding of the human condition. Every day, people from all over the world, their hearts heavy with pain and hope, headed to the temple, attracted by the fame of Ikkyo's wisdom. It was said that his teachings had the power to heal the deepest wounds and guide souls to inner peace. One morning, as the rising sun painted the sky with delicate shades of pink and gold, a motley group of people gathered in the temple courtyard. There was a young woman whose eyes were lined with a sadness that seemed too heavy for her age, a middle-aged businessman whose brow was furrowed by constant worry, an elderly artist whose gaze reflected a lifetime of unspoken joys and sorrows, and many others, each with a unique story of suffering engraved deep within their soul. Ikkyo, with slow, deliberate movements, emerged from the temple. His saffron robe, simple and worn, was a testament to his years of devoted service. His eyes, gentle and penetrating, seemed to look directly into the hearts of each person present, offering a silent welcome and a promise of comfort. "Welcome," Ikkyo said, his voice a balm to tired ears. "You have come here seeking healing, and I assure you, you will find it. The wounds of childhood are like shadows that linger across our present, influencing our thoughts, our emotions, and our relationships in ways we often do not fully understand." A silence filled with expectation and conflicting emotions fell over the crowd. The monk's words had struck a raw nerve, awakening long dormant memories and feelings. "Imagine," Ikkyo continued, "a child who is constantly told he is not good enough. That child will grow up with an incessant need for approval, always seeking external confirmation to fill the internal void. Or think of a child who has experienced abandonment, whether physical or emotional. That child may develop a paralyzing fear of intimacy, pushing away anyone who tries to get close to protect themselves from a pain that seems already written in their destiny." Ikkyo paused, allowing his words to sink in. "These wounds," he continued, "can manifest in many ways. You may find yourself trapped in patterns of self-sabotage, unable to accept love or success, because an inner voice whispers that you don't deserve it. You may struggle with anxiety, depression, or anger, unable to understand the source of these tumultuous emotions. Or you may find yourself repeating the same mistakes in your relationships, drawn to partners who somehow reopen your old wounds." A woman in the crowd sobbed silently, her shoulders shaking with a pain that had been repressed for too long. A man, sitting cross-legged, closed his eyes, as if diving into an abyss of painful memories. "But there is hope," Ikkyo said, his voice firm and reassuring. "We can free ourselves from these chains of the past. The first step is to become aware of the wounds we carry. We must learn to observe our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment, like an impartial spectator watching the flow of a river." Through practices like meditation, we can calm the mind and create an inner space where our wounds can surface and finally be seen for what they are. Ekio led the group in a short meditation, inviting them to focus on their breath, the air going in and out of their nostrils, and anchor to the present moment. A sense of calm began to spread through the crowd as minds, usually tossed like stormy waters, found a moment's respite. Once we have become aware of our own wounds, Ekio continued, we must treat ourselves with the same kindness and compassion we would reserve for a dear friend in need. Too often, we are our own harshest critics, berating ourselves for every mistake, every weakness. Imagine speaking to a wounded child in the same harsh, judgmental tone you use with yourself. Would you ever do that? No, you would speak gently, lovingly, offering comfort and understanding. We must learn to do the same with the wounded child within us. Ekio told the story of a man who spent his life trying to please a cold and distant father. Only when he began to treat himself with compassion, acknowledging his pain and deep loneliness, did the man break free from his obsessive need for approval and find a peace he had never known. When we are caught up in regret for the past or anxiety about the future, we lose sight of the beauty and richness of the present moment. Ekio explained. We then learn to live fully in the now, appreciating the little things like the warmth of the sun on our skin, the scent of flowers, the smile of a child. Awareness of the present allows us to switch off our automatic and negative thought patterns and savor life in all its fullness. Ekio suggested that the group practice simple mindfulness exercises throughout the day, savoring every bite of food, listening carefully to the sounds of nature, observing one's thoughts and emotions without letting them overwhelm oneself. Healing is not a journey to be undertaken alone, Ekio continued. Seek support from trusted people who can listen, understand, and encourage you. A therapist, a support group, or even just a sincere friend can make all the difference. Remember that vulnerability is not weakness, but the courage to show up as you are, with your scars and imperfections. He told the story of a woman who found comfort and strength in a support group for women who had been abused. Sharing her story in a safe and welcoming environment allowed her to feel less alone and to begin to rebuild her self-esteem. Repressed emotions are like poison that stagnates in the body and soul, Ekio said. We must find ways to express and process them in healthy ways. Talk therapy, body practices such as yoga or Tai Chi, or creative expression through art, music, or writing can be powerful tools to release emotions and promote healing. A young man, a musician who had stopped playing after his father's death, told how music began to flow again after he began a course of body therapy, allowing him to express a pain that words could not contain. Ekio then spoke of the power of forgiveness. It is not a question of justifying or forgetting the harm suffered, but of freeing ourselves from the rancor and bitterness that chain us to the past. Forgiving, first of all, ourselves for our mistakes and our weaknesses, and then, if possible, those who have hurt us, is an act of liberation that allows us to move on with our lives. She told the moving story of a woman who was able to forgive her abusive father only after many years of inner work. That forgiveness, she said, had not changed the past, but had allowed her to find deep peace and build healthier relationships in the present. And finally, Ekio concluded, remember this, which is the most important point and which I have saved for last, so that you will stay with me until the end. In the midst of difficulties, never forget to cultivate gratitude. Every day, even the darkest, brings with it small blessings, a kind gesture, a moment of beauty, a shared laugh. Learn to recognize and appreciate these small things, and you will see that your perspective will gradually change. Gratitude is like a lighthouse that illuminates our path, even in the darkest nights. It is the key that opens the door to serenity and lasting joy. It is the strength that allows us to transcend pain and embrace life with an open heart. Akio told of a man who, after losing everything in a fire, began keeping a gratitude journal. Every night, he wrote down 3 things he was grateful for, no matter how small they seemed. As time passed, the man realized that his life was still full of blessings, and he found the strength to rebuild not only his home, but his spirit. The man had learned that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the ability to appreciate what you have. He had discovered that gratitude is not a passive emotion, but an active practice, a muscle that grows stronger with exercise. Every day, the man chose to focus on what he had, rather than what he had lost, and that conscious choice transformed his despair into hope, his bitterness into sweetness. His story had become an example for all who knew him, a testimony to the transformative power of gratitude. And gratitude itself, like a balm, had begun to soothe his wounds, to fill the voids left by the loss, to illuminate his path with a new and more intense light. A deep and emotional silence fell over the crowd. Akio's words had resonated in the souls of every person present, awakening dormant hopes and offering a path to healing. Each of them felt like a weary traveler who, after long wandering in darkness, finally glimpses a light on the horizon. The journey to recovery is one of courage, patience, and perseverance, Akio concluded, but I assure you it is a journey worth taking. Trust in yourself and remember that you are not alone. May you find the peace and serenity you seek. And with these words, which resounded like a blessing, Akio withdrew into the temple, leaving the crowd immersed in a silence full of hope and renewed determination. Remember, childhood wounds may deeply scar your life, but they do not determine your destiny. You have the power to heal, to grow, and to create a life filled with love, joy, and meaning. Never give up, because even in the darkest night, there is always a star shining for you.